Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Glad to welcome you back to the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and welcome to this edition of Crimson Drive. It's presented to you by Coca-Cola. Well, we've seen some more sports wrap up here at the University of Alabama as we're starting to truly get into the off-season, but it's going to be a very fast off-season before, of course, football practice starts up in August and we start gearing up for fall sports. But today we have a great show lined up for you, so let's go ahead and take a look at today's headlines and first of all, see what's coming up on Crimson Drive, presented by Coca-Cola. Today we will start with a conversation with former Alabama Athletics Director Bill Battle, who had a great tenure as the Athletics Director here at the University of Alabama, was also a national champion player under Coach Bryant, and a really fascinating conversation with him because he has just released his autobiography, The Master's Plan. So we'll visit with Coach Battle coming up, and then after that a conversation with Sam Praytor, Alabama catcher who helped lead the baseball team back to the postseason, not only in the SEC tournament, but also to the NCAA tournament. Speaking of NCAA championships, Dan Waters led the track and field programs in both the men's and the women's side to tremendous campaigns in 2021. So we'll have a conversation catching up on all things Alabama cross country and track and field coming up with Coach Waters. Taking a look at some of our headlines, we start with swimming because we have some good Olympic news to announce. Ryan White has made the USA Olympic team in the 100-meter backstroke. She is the first Alabama woman to earn a spot on the U.S. Olympic women's swimming team for this year, and hopefully next week we will have a conversation with Ryan White. We're hopefully going to have that for you coming up in a week to talk about the great run she has had at the trials and now what she hopes to have coming up at the Tokyo Olympics. Crimson Tide baseball team, the honors keep rolling in for Alabama players, starting with the Viper, Chase Lee. He was named a third-team All-American, and the outstanding closer for the Crimson Tide also named the All-Southeast Region team. You can say the same about Peyton Wilson for Alabama, as he was also named the All-Southeast Region team as well, and he continues to have a lot of draft buzz around the draft-eligible sophomore. Then we also had some good news earlier in the week. A familiar friend is coming back to the capstone in Matt Prater. He was a volunteer assistant coach for a couple years for the Crimson Tide. Now he is back as an assistant coach, and speaking of interviews next week on Crimson Drive, really would like to have a conversation with Matt Prater and talk about the 1 year he had away from the program when he was at Pittsburgh, now coming back to the Crimson Tide and serving on Brad Bohannon's staff. Some tough news earlier in the week for the men's basketball program as forward James Rojas suffered a torn ACL. He had a successful surgery in Birmingham on his left knee Tuesday. You may remember a couple of years ago he had a torn ACL in his right knee. Well, he's now had it in his left knee, but he had a successful surgery, and there was something notable from Coach Oates talking about Rojas trying to bounce back from the injury. He is expected to play in the 2021-2022 SEC season. That always starts at the start of the new year in January, so it looks like about a 6-month recovery time, which is pretty aggressive for James Rojas, but he responded well to that a couple years ago when he had the injury that forced him to miss all of the 2019-20 season, so we're certainly hoping for all the best for James Rojas and his rehab and recovery coming back from this latest ACL tear. Some other news involving Crimson Tide teams. We started with volleyball as Drew Cuck has transferred to Alabama from Kansas State. She's a junior defensive specialist, and she'll join the Crimson Tide for the fall season. She is a native of Sheboygan, Wisconsin. She played in 36 matches over 2 years with the Wildcats. She led the team with 366 digs her freshman year. Now in men's golf, more good assistant coaching news on the capstone because Hunter Hamrick is back on campus as an assistant coach for the men's golf team. He played under Coach Sewell from 2009 to 2012. He was part of the national championship team, and now he is on the staff for the Tide. Another Alabama alum doing well in soccer, Meryl Van Dongen, was named to the Dutch Olympic team. Great performances by her throughout her career for the Netherlands, so now she's been announced to the Dutch Olympic team, and they will make their Olympic debut on July 21st against Zambia. She has participated in 51 international caps since 2015 when she made her international debut as the Netherlands won 7-0 over Thailand in that match. She has played with the Dutch national team in major tournaments including 2015 and 2019 World Cups, so congratulations to her. And last but not least, track and field. They have 26 student athletes earning 34 All-America honors, and coming up later on in the show this hour, we will have a conversation with Dan Waters, the head coach of Alabama track and field, to discuss all of those honors. But today on the show, we start with a conversation with an old friend in Bill Battle, who, of course, played here at the University of Alabama for the legendary Paul Bear Bryant. Later went on to be a head coach in college football, one of the youngest in the nation when he was hired as Tennessee's head coach back in 1970. And he talks about that transition, plus his time as athletics director from 2013 to 2017, and how he is doing lately. And all of his great life stories now in one book called The Master's Plan. It's available anywhere you pick up books, whether in bookstores or online as well. So we figured it was a good time to say hello to one of our great friends here at the University of Alabama, Coach Bill Battle. Joined now by former director of athletics for the University of Alabama, as well as a national champion player for the Crimson Tide, Bill Battle, who joins us now. And Coach, it's great to see you. How's everything going?
Everything's going great. We've not enjoying this hot weather so much, but we are enjoying good air conditioning, and we did have a good spring.
That's certainly good to hear. And one of the reasons we wanted to talk with you at this point was because you have a new book out called The Master's Plan, an autobiography, as well as kind of a game plan for life, as it seems. What can you tell us about the book?
Yeah, interesting way the title came about. I never really wanted to be an athletic director, even when I was a coach. And Mary and I were living in a dream house in a dream neighborhood, and thought we were there for the rest of our life. And I got a call on a Sunday night back in January of 13. And within a week, I had decided to become an athletic director and uproot our whole life. And so I stayed in Tuscaloosa after the press conference, and Mary went back to Atlanta to get our home ready to sell and figure out what all we needed to do, which was monumental and buy a house and all that. But it was a great experience. So 3 or 4 weeks into the process, I was in Tuscaloosa and Mary was in Atlanta. So I went home this particular weekend, and I was on the way back, the phone rang. And it was one of my assistant trainers from Tennessee, Leroy Mullins, called. Hadn't talked to him since he left. When he left to take the head job at Ole Miss under Billy Brewer, and then Steve Sloan came in. Leroy was a great guy and a great trainer, but he said, Coach, I'm so glad you'll be working with young people again. And I said, well, Leroy, that wasn't in my master plan. And he said, well, it was in the master's plan. And as I thought about that, and I thought there was some divine intervention in my coming back to Alabama, and particularly in some things that happened after that. And when I look back at people and the places, the people that I've met and were influenced by, and the places that I went that influenced what I did and how I did it, I didn't think that was by accident. I did believe there's a plan, and I do believe there's a plan. So that's what the theme of the book is, but it goes through and tells the various aspects of my life. It may be interesting to some. I was 11 years in Tennessee, and of course I was played at Alabama and coached at Oklahoma and West Point and Tennessee, and then built the collegiate licensing company. And there are detailed analyses of all of those years, and back as athletic director at Alabama.
Well, let's go through some of the steps on the journey throughout the Master's Plan, starting with your playing days at the University of Alabama, playing for legendary head coach Paul Bear Bryant. What are some of the biggest lessons that he taught you while you were a player?
Well, Coach Bryant, I still think about him most every day. He had a great influence on my life, maybe more so than anybody other than my mother and father. And I think the greatest lesson, and he was really good about applying football lessons to life lessons. And there were many that he did, but probably the greatest one was that, when you're down, and in his vernacular, he said, when you're down, you lost your job, you're off, your wife ran away with a drummer, and things look bad. Pick yourself up and go again, because you can make it. You've done it before, and you can do it again. And so I think the answer is, and I think one of the reasons that competitive athletes are successful in business or law or medicine or whatever they try is that when the going gets tough, they don't flinch. They bear down and face the music and walk on through it. So I think that's the greatest lesson that he taught.
Of course, you had a quick rise throughout the coaching profession, becoming the head coach at the University of Tennessee, and that meant you had to go up against Alabama and coach against Coach Bryant. What was that experience like for you the first time?
Well, the first time is pretty good. I was lucky. The football gods were in our favor. They had 400 and something yards of offense, threw the ball up and down the field, but we intercepted 8 passes and beat them 24-0. The night before the game, we always hosted the official party from the visiting team at the University Club. So I was there, and the Alabama party came in, and Coach Bryant came in with a big smile on his face. And he came over and put his arm around me, and he said, "I know you're going to sleep real well tonight." And I didn't sleep a wink, I don't think. But anyway, we did shut them out for the first time in over 100 games, I think. And so that was a great win. And I guess a monkey off my back, except the monkey climbed back on the next year, because Coach Bryant went out to Southern Cal. He'd gotten beaten by us and Southern Cal pretty badly in Birmingham in 1970, and gone 6-5 in both 69 and 70. But he had a really good team coming, and so they upset Southern Cal on the West Coast with Johnny Musso and that team, and they went undefeated, I think, and won the SEC. And in the decade of the 70s, even after going 6-5 in 1970, Alabama and Coach Bryant won 8 Southeastern Conference championships and 3 national championships. So it wasn't that great a time to be the coach at Tennessee.
Certainly not. And that just goes to show how Coach Bryant was adaptable. And I'm sure even in your tenure as athletic director at Alabama, you saw Coach Saban during his time as head coach at Alabama change as well. Great leaders do that, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an amazing experience for the whole University of Alabama, but especially for me to be able to work with and under Coach Bryant for 4 years and with Coach Saban for 4 years. Coach Saban has the same principles. He's there's a difference between good and great, and he's never satisfied with good. And most people, when they win a championship, they'd want to sit back and relax a little bit. But both of those coaches wanted to win 2 more after they had just won 1, and they geared up the next day and went about their business in that way. And so it's amazing that Alabama had 2 coaches that were the best of their era.
Absolutely. You've been around for, of course, both. And also, we mentioned your career as the head coach of the University of Tennessee. When your time in Knoxville came to an end, what did you think your next steps would be as you started to enter into the business world?
I didn't know. I knew that, or I believed that I could get a job back in coaching if I wanted to. But I decided that football was the only thing I ever knew, and I wanted to see if I could make it in the business world. And so I decided, and I had a year on my contract that they honored. And so I had a year to look around a little bit. And I ended up going down to Selma, Alabama. Coach Bryant was on the board, and Larry Striplin was my first Little League football coach and was running the company. And he had a new company there that looked like it was going strong, and he had a big job he was chasing in Saudi Arabia, and that was kind of exciting. So I ended up going there for 6 years, And our companies, we had two companies when I went there doing $12 million a year. And at the end of the 6 years, we had 10 companies doing 60 million. So it was a great business educational experience for me, which I needed. I'd never had any business experience, and that was really good. And by a strange set of circumstances, we started the Collegiate Licensing Company. Now, if you want to start a trademark licensing company that represents colleges and universities all over the country, and it's a leading company in the country, you might start it from a construction materials company in Selma, Alabama. But so that's, again, part of the master's plan as I see it. The way that I got in that business, Larry made a massive sale in Saudi Arabia, very profitable, and bought, as I said, 10 companies. None of them made a lot of sense to me as construction materials related, but Odie Chrisman Putter Company was the one that changed my life. And so we bought this putter company, and Larry thought if he could sell windows all over the world, he could sell putters all over the world. And that was a mistake. And he was told either get in the golf business or get out. So I had moved up to president of the window company about this time, and the big job was rolling, and I was really busy. And so he called me one day and he said, I want you to go. I got a meeting with the Nicklaus people in Palm Beach. So we went down in 1979. I'd never heard of licensing, and met with Jack's licensing people. And I soon discovered that Jack's heirs for generations will make money off the Golden Bear logo and the Jack Nicklaus signature. And so before the end of the day, we ended up with exclusive rights to Jack Nicklaus, the Golden Bear logo on golf products, non-apparel golf products, accessories, socks and gloves and all the accessories. And we also got exclusive rights to Jack Nicklaus Eyewear, which was sold to the ophthalmic trade. So we brought this guy in, Eddie Dobbs, who knew about licensing and started really expanding this company. And I was running the window company, but I'd go have a beer with Larry, with Eddie every now and then, and because I was fascinated with the business. And the first year we paid Jack $75,000 in royalties. And I said, why would we pay Jack $75,000? Eddie said, well, our people buying from us don't know us from Adam, but they know Jack Nicklaus and the Golden Bear logo. And the consumers don't know us, but they know the Nicklaus logo. It's well worth what we're paying. So that made sense. So 2 years later, Coach Bryant came into the board. I was running a board meeting for the window company, and I also had to pick up Coach Bryant's Holiday Inn. And as we were walking up the stairs, he said, I'm going to change agents. The guys in New York aren't doing anything for me. And I was shocked that he had an agent or did anything other than think about football. But I couldn't think about windows during that meeting. I was thinking about, man, here's Newt Rockney about to change agents, and we've got this little company. So as we walked back down together, I said, Coach, I don't know anything about being an agent, but I know about you. And if you let us do this, we'll do it right. And he said, I ain't got nothing to sell. Best in the business, been trying to sell me. All I want is somebody to take my request for speaking engagements and tell them I can't come. And I said, Coach, we can handle that. So we signed an exclusive agency with Coach Bryant for his licensing rights and his speaking rights. And we started getting him some TV commercials, some sponsorship commercials, and started making him and us a fair amount of money. And so then we got the word out that you had to go through us to use Coach Bryant. So people started to ask about Alabama logos. And so I went to the SEC and said, we want to represent your universities. And they said, all we can give you is the SEC logo. if you want the school logos, you got to go to them. So we went out to the SEC and ACC and got Alabama and Ole Miss on board. And over the next 2 years, we got 7 of the 8 ACC schools. And that's how it all started. And then I partnered up with a guy who was doing the same thing on the West Coast and moved it to Atlanta. And that's how CLC got started.
Yeah, it's a remarkable business because before that, you used to see, so many different shades of crimson or red, or when you're at Tennessee, so many different shades of orange. Now we have all of these logos and brands that are so iconic, and a lot of that is because of the hard work you all did with the CLC.
Yeah, and the great thing, when I stepped in to my first day at the office as athletic director at Alabama and looked at our financials, I was really proud that CLC, my old company, was paying us $10 million a year. And that was a big help to the budget.
I certainly understand that. Well, again, your time at Alabama and some national championships with Coach Saban. What else are you most proud of during your tenure as the athletic director at Alabama?
Well, everybody was kind of in shock with Mal's sudden demise, and the trustees wanted to make a smooth transition because things were good. And they called me, and I didn't want to do it. And I decided I was going to tell them that I wasn't going to do it. And I met with a trustee who said about, I don't know, about 50 words that changed my mind. And I decided right then and there that if I didn't do this, I'd regret it for the rest of my life, and I would have. And I'm really glad that I did it. And it was a great experience. The thing that I enjoyed the most, that I thought I would enjoy the least, is watching all of the student athletes and all of the sports get better. And the coaches were good, and the coaches were working hard, and they had great plans, and we had big goals, and we accomplished those goals. But we were able to step in with really a smooth transition and just move right along, because Mal had the place in really good shape. There were a few things that needed improvements that we tried to make, but we kept the ship in the mainstream and kept it running smoothly and continued to win championships, and the student athletes continue to get degrees and hopefully better preparation for life after graduation.
And you also had a smooth transition into retirement. Greg Byrne comes in, and recently Alabama this past school year has been one of the most remarkable in the history of the university. What's it been like for you kind of as a fan and someone that's still around, getting to watch all of these great teams have years unlike we really have seen at one time at Alabama?
Yeah, it's been great. The year before I came, Mal had 5 teams that won national championships. And then one year that I was there, we had 4 SEC championships. But yeah, these having basketball do what it's done, it's been an evolution from Anthony to Avery to our current coach, and he's done a magnificent job. Winning the SEC and the SEC tournament was incredible, and he's done a great job recruiting, and it looks like we're set for a long time there. And I think our baseball team is rallying and ready to make a splash. It may take another year or two.
Well, and the softball team had great success as well. And Coach Murphy talked about the generous gift you and your wife made to Alabama softball, specifically for the seniors, the COVID seniors, getting to come back and finish out their careers. What did that mean to you to give that gift and then see them have such a great year that included an SEC championship?
Well, it's hard not to love the softball team. When I was watching them back when they won the national championship, I was thinking to myself, man, that's a tough bunch of gals. And then when I went on the field the first time and they all came up and hugged me, and they had gleams in their eyes and smiles on their faces. And it was a whole different look to me. And when they got through it with all that hugging, I said, man, you don't look like angels, but you play like devils. And I have loved the way they've performed, what Coach Murphy and Allie Habits have done has been phenomenal in recruiting and preparing those girls to be great citizens and great baseball players. And, you know, we really needed that depth. We had a lot of injuries this year on our softball team. And I was pulling hard, and, you know, the timing just wasn't right for whatever reason. But Montana had a great year, and the fact that she didn't in her last game was a timing issue. If it had been another day, it would have been another outcome. But we played on the days that they set, and it ended up the way it did. And hats off to Florida State.
No doubt about it. So again, the Master's Plan is now out on Amazon and a lot of bookstores. Is that keeping you busy during your retirement? And how's your health doing over the last few years?
Well, I'm struggling a little bit. I got some post-COVID lung issues that are affecting my breathing a little bit, and the amount of walking I can do, but I'm doing the best I can with what I got. And so we're able to do about anything we want to do. We're planning on going to Jackson Hole for 8 or 10 days here coming up in July, and enjoy that good weather and whatever I feel like doing out there. And I am keeping busy with radio interviews, and you know, my voice is a little scratchy because I'm not used to talking all this much. But yeah, I'm doing good and enjoying life, and appreciate the president giving me the ability to stay on and help him raise money, and trying to do that in the athletic department as well. So I'm staying pretty busy.
Well, that's certainly good to hear. Well, again, the Master's Plan is now out in bookstores and on Amazon, written by Coach Battle. And Coach, just thank you for all the time you've given us today here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Really enjoyed hearing about the book and talking some stories throughout your career. Just thank you again, and Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Thank you, Roger.
Really great fun catching up with Bill Battle, former director of athletics here at Alabama, and coming up soon in the comments section of our Facebook Live video, I'll post a link to that book, The Master's Plan, available now. Of course, you can order it online, or you can find it in your local bookstores. Switching gears to Alabama baseball, Sam Praytor has really been a veteran for this team throughout the past 4 seasons, and he's helped lead Alabama baseball really back to a great spot, getting to the NCAA Ruston Regional and playing well the entire time throughout his senior campaign, Sam Praytor. So we figured it was a good time to kind of catch up with Sam and see how he's doing after the season came to a close, and just what the entire ride of the 2021 season was like for Alabama veteran catcher Sam Praytor. Joined now by Crimson Tide catcher Sam Praytor. And Sam, I almost said former Crimson Tide catcher. Has it really sunk in yet that you've played so much baseball in an Alabama jersey that now you may be moving on from the capstone?
No, not at all. Like I really haven't even. I like it. It doesn't feel any different. I don't think it it has sunk in, so to speak. Like, I'm still using our weight room and our cages and stuff. And, you know, I still see all the same people, and I still live in my apartment here on campus. So I don't think until I, move out or whatever, I don't think it'll really hit me that I'm really done with Alabama.
Yeah, I'm sure when you were an incoming freshman or maybe a high school senior, there are a lot of players that told you, hey, it goes by fast. Did it go by fast in your 4 years of playing for Alabama?
Extremely fast. I had it feels like just the other day I was coming in for my freshman year. But yeah, there's definitely some truth to that. I can't believe I've already graduated and played in parts of 4 seasons here. So, I mean, it has flown by.
It really has. And we'll go back a little bit to your high school days, of course, in Helena. What made you decide on Alabama?
I've wanted to play Alabama ever since I was a kid. So as soon as Coach Gaspard, he was the one that recruited me, him and Coach Phillips. As soon as they gave me that opportunity, I knew I wanted to come here. So I committed this summer going into my junior year of high school. And I knew it was something I wanted to do ever since I was very young. So that's why I came to Alabama.
And I'm sure a lot of people have told you before as well, you commit to the school, not the coach, because you mentioned you're recruited by Coach Gaspard, Coach Goff comes in, and then Coach Bohannon. What were those moments like with all these transition points for the program, but yet you still stuck with your commitment?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes you question your decision making. But I mean, the only coach I played for was Coach Bohannon, so obviously that was a great experience getting to do that. When he got hired, I knew I had heard nothing but good things about him. So I mean, when there's a bunch of coaching changes like that, it definitely, I mean, it makes you wonder. But I definitely made the correct decision in staying and playing for Coach Bohannon.
What do you remember about your freshman year getting to catch for the Crimson Tide and also having that learning curve of, okay, here I am playing college baseball. Now, only a few weeks into the season, you're playing SEC baseball against some of the best pitching and hitters in the nation.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot harder than high school baseball. Freshman year was a lot of fun. Be quite honest, we weren't a phenomenal team, but I mean, I mean, you can't really complain much getting to play in front of all those fans in the nicest stadiums in the country, and you're playing against the best competition in the country. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, that's what you sign up for, and I mean, yeah, there's definitely a learning curve. Every player goes through that their freshman year. But it's really just about, this sounds so cliche, but it's really just about how you respond. Um, but yeah, freshman year was definitely an experience.
Well, all about your respond as well. Your sophomore year with the arm injury that you suffered early in the year. How'd you bounce back from some of that adversity?
Yeah, that was difficult. It was pretty frustrating, but I mean, the only thing I really could do, I don't know anyone who just lays in the house and sulks 24/7, So, I mean, I just came back, did all the rehab, and I worked really hard on becoming a lot better baseball player than I was before. And I mean, I believe I did that, but that's the only thing I could do, really.
That's right. And then you go through all the rehab process, go through fall ball, winter ball, you get ready for the 2020 season. And then all of a sudden, the COVID-19 pandemic. Just how were you guys feeling as a team prior to the pandemic shutting down the season? Because we saw all the wins. It seemed like this team was ready for a type of year that Alabama eventually had in 2021.
Yeah, we were really bummed out about everything that happened. Really, we were really excited. And then obviously that happens, which was extremely unexpected. And from like a team perspective, it was heartbreaking because we felt like we had that team, and I mean, it got just taken away from us. And we had really good team chemistry. We were hitting well, we were pitching well, and we were playing well in all parts of the game. And it got taken away from us. And then a personal perspective, it was really heartbreaking because I worked so hard to come back, and I got off to a great start, and then that was just taken away. So it's like I missed 2 years. I pretty much. I mean, I played 4.5 games my sophomore year. Then I played in 16 games my sophomore or my junior year, and I mean, and neither one of those I played SEC play. So
Yeah. What did you do in some of the early days of the quarantine in the spring and then into the summer? How did you stay in shape? What were kind of your next steps after the season was canceled?
yeah, so at the first part of quarantine, there was a gym in Birmingham that was still open that I was going to called Tinsley Performance. And I mean, I had a great experience. I worked out there, I mean, pretty much every day. And then once everything ended up closing down, I lucked out, and one of my good family friends, they had a gym, and we're neighbors. They had like a little weight room set in their garage. So I went over there just about every day to go work out and stuff. So I stayed in shape by doing that and eating as healthy as I could at home. I always eat way healthier at school, but when my mom's cooking and whatnot, it's hard to eat extremely healthy just because she makes that food that tastes so good. But I ended up getting in a lot better shape, and then we lucked out. Northridge High School let us use their weight room and their cages, and so we did that for the back end of the summer, coming back into school. And there was, there was a good bit of it. I'm trying to think how many people were in town. I mean, 6 or 7 of us were using their weight room and their cages. So that's what we did the back end of the summer before we came back to school.
Then you come back and all of a sudden you're getting COVID tested all the time. You're not having some normal practices. Just what was it like getting ready for the season when you guys were probably a little more spread out and split up more than you ever had been for a baseball camp?
Yeah, the worst part were the masks. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like trying to work out in a mask is brutal. You can't breathe, and then like on top of we didn't have like we weren't working out in the mask that come around your ear. Like we were working out in like the gaiters. And so when you start sweating and stuff like that, it's like being like waterboarded. But I mean, it was definitely different. But like you put up with those type of things to, I mean, be able to compete and play the sport you love. So it wasn't anything extremely different. I mean, it was kind of like odd, but it was just at the same time everyone was going through it, so you didn't really think much about it, and it was something you just had to do.
Did you ever wear the neck gaiter while you had the catcher's mask on?
No, I did not do that. I always had it. Yeah, I always had it around my neck, but I like to think that catcher's mask that replaced my mask. So
That's certainly good. Well, let's get into this past season. Just what were your expectations for this group going into the year?
I had no idea. I don't know. Like I went into it with no expectations, to be honest with you. Just trying to compete and have a good time and play the best that I can and the best that we can, and whatever happens, happens. So I mean, I didn't have a ton of expectations.
Well, you go into the season, of course, you had some great performances at the plate for the Crimson Tide, leading the team as the team catcher. And you also saw some adversity from the pitching staff. How'd you see guys like Tyler Ross, Dylan Smith step into bigger roles on this team?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about our pitching staff. I mean, Tyler Ross absolutely competed, man. He got thrown into a Friday night role after starting out the season in the bullpen and just competed all year long. Days where he didn't feel great, he went out there and competed. And then, I mean, I can't say enough about Tyler Ross. He was a lot of fun to catch, and hopefully I'll get to catch him again someday. But I mean, he's just a competitor. The simple way of putting it.
How about Dylan Smith? What was he working with the best on the mound?
He was a lot of fun to catch as well. He is, him and Tyler are two different pitchers, very different pitchers. But Dylan had a great year of his own, and I mean, hopefully I'll get to catch him again someday as well. But he was a lot of fun to catch as well.
Then another guy that's very different comes out of the bullpen, the Viper, Chase Lee, side armor. Did it take a little bit for you to get adjusted to catching somebody that was such a low arm angle?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Like I've been catching him since my sophomore year, but I mean, I didn't get to play a ton that season because of my arm injury, but I caught him during the fall and preseason and bullpens and whatnot. And then I caught him junior year during the fall and preseason, and then the 16 games that we played. So I'd gotten pretty used to him, but to start with, yeah, it can be kind of difficult because his ball does move so much. And Chase Lee, I mean, he's a great pitcher. And I mean, I think he's going to go really far. So he's a lot of fun to catch when you are familiar with him. But if you're not too familiar with someone like that, it can be kind of like nerve-wracking to catch someone like that.
I bet some of the hitters, especially the right-handed batters, they probably look back at you and like, what is this guy doing? Because a lot of them had no chance against him.
Yeah, no shot.
What a great year that Chase Lee had. And of course, Alabama has some great wins along the way. What are some of the games that stand out to you the most from this past year?
Auburn for sure. That whole series was so much fun. That's the most memorable series I'll ever, that I ever played with Alabama. That was my favorite series that I was a part of. Those were definitely a blast. When we were in LSU, when we beat them on Saturday, that was a really fun win. It was just a great atmosphere. LSU is a really good ball club, and that Saturday win against them was a lot of fun. Tennessee Friday night, just because they came in like a top ranked team and we beat them, and then obviously Arkansas, and we beat them on Friday night. Those are some of the wins that stand out just off the top of my head.
Yeah, 16-1 in Fayetteville certainly was a good night for the
Yeah.
Crimson Tide. And I mentioned some other pitchers. I have to go back to one other guy you've been catching for a long, long time. That's Landon Green, your fellow Helena native. What was it like to get to make the journey from, Little League? We've seen the pictures of you guys as youngsters to now in a Crimson Tide jersey.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blast. I mean, our mom sure loved it. But I mean, it was a blast. I'm really proud of Landon. He battled some adversity after having surgery, and people don't know this, but Landon hasn't pitched in a full season since he was a senior in high school, and now he's about to be a senior in college. He went from, I mean, literally for 2 years he didn't pitch a full season. So me and him kind of had that in common. But I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun because the year me and Landon had Tommy John the same season. Neither one of us played that season. And then both of us, I mean, COVID. So we both went 2 years without playing, and then we come back and we both had big roles in the season we had this year. So, I mean, it was really satisfying for that to go on. And I don't know what Landon's future is with the Crimson Tide next year. But I mean, I expect Landon to go as far as he wants in this game. And I'm really excited to watch whatever happens for him.
Talked a lot during the year with Coach Bohannon about this team being able to hit kind of the reset button. You have a tough series against Mississippi State. You got the opportunity to play in the SEC tournament in Hoover. Just how would you describe the week you guys had, getting those key wins against South Carolina and Tennessee, and ultimately earning a berth in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, we just this team's extremely competitive, man. That's all I can say. We're resilient, and all year long we were just, whenever you thought that, like, I guess you had us down, we would just do something to come back every time, whether it was a game or a series or whatever else. And that doesn't surprise me at all. But I mean, we really just we were refusing to lose. A very cliche and simple way of putting it. We just went in there with just no expectations or anything. So we just went, let's just go compete. And we did what we had to do to get into a regional.
Certainly did. And then we get the news you're going to Ruston, Louisiana for a weekend of baseball at the home of Louisiana Tech. How would you describe getting to play in that regional? And did you think the ball that you hit late in the game on Sunday was going to be a home run that ended up being just foul? Because up in the broadcast booth, Chris Stewart and I certainly thought it was going to be a home run.
Yeah. Ruston was actually a lot of fun. I mean, not necessarily like the town, but like the series. Like they have great fans. When we played NC State and Ryder, obviously there wasn't as many fans because, I mean, it wasn't the home field. But when we played Louisiana Tech, it felt like an SEC atmosphere out there, to be quite honest with you. They had a lot of fans, and they were rowdy, and they were heckling us. It kind of just was like, okay, just another weekend at series in the SEC. So, I mean, it's hard to rattle somebody when when we do it for 10 straight weekends. But that series, Ruston, the ballpark, and Louisiana Tech was a lot of fun. And the ball I hit, did I think it was fair off the bat? Yeah, I did. What a letdown that was. But I did it earlier. I did it 2 games before that against NC State. I don't know if you remember that. My second at bat, I hit one. But I thought it had a chance of being fair, but we never challenged it for whatever reason. It was one of those that just went too high, and like I think it went over fair, but it ended up landing foul. But we never challenged it. That one was closer than the other foul ball home run I hit. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it was foul, but I off the bat I thought I had a chance. After that happens, I was literally like, the first time I did it, I ended up striking out. So that time I was like, all right, we need to take a deep breath, get this heart rate back down, because that ball goes up, crowd goes crazy. You get excited, your heart starts beating. So I was just trying to take a deep breath, and luckily I was able to work out a walk.
Certainly did. Was it kind of a full circle moment as well? Were you able to see Coach Gaspard at any point during that weekend?
Yeah, I talked to him. I talked to him a little bit on Thursday at our practice. Just said hey to him. I didn't get to talk to him a ton, but I got to say hey to him. It's been a while.
That's pretty cool. And then talking of coaches, what was Coach Bohannon's kind of final message to this group after that Louisiana Tech game on what's been a memorable season and a year that could move Alabama baseball really forward down the road?
I'll be honest with you, I don't remember. I mean, there were so many emotions going on. I mean, that was potentially like my last college game, and it was the last time I'm going to play with a lot of my best friends. So I don't remember the speech. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't remember, but I do know he's told us a million times that he loved this group, and he was proud of the way we competed all year long and how resilient we were. And we competed, and we just fought harder every time we were faced with adversity. So he's told us that a million times. Do I remember his post-game speech? I don't. If I would have said something, I would have made it up. So
I understand. Well, what are kind of the next steps for you over the next few weeks?
I'm really just staying here in Tuscaloosa, working out, hitting. I'm really just getting ready for the draft. Hopefully everything works out, but if it doesn't, I know I have a great place to come back to. Hopefully Coach Bohannon would want me back, but I would expect to, get picked up next month. So, but whatever happens. I mean, I'm just working out really hard and hitting, and just kind of controlling what I can control.
All right, Sam, last question. We heard the news earlier in the week that Matt Prater is coming back to Tuscaloosa as an assistant coach on this team. Just how excited are you for that news, and how excited are you to watch the Crimson Tide when they hit the diamond next year?
That's awesome for the University of Alabama. I love Coach Prater. He's the man. I loved getting to play for Prater for 2 years. Anybody who knows him knows he's probably one of the funniest guys you could ever be around. I mean, and on top of being a really good baseball coach, I mean, the guy was he was an SEC shortstop for 4 years, so he knows what he's talking about. And I've got to throw in there, he has some of the best BP I've ever hit off of too. But I'm excited. Prater's coming back, and I'm pumped. I mean, for whatever happens next year, I'm excited to watch him. And still a lot of my best friends are going to be on the team, so we'll see.
Well, we're looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to your next steps as well, Sam. Just thank you for everything you've meant to Alabama baseball throughout your career, and we certainly wish you the best of luck. And thanks for coming on Crimson Drive this afternoon. Roll Tide.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
Good luck to Sam Praytor with whatever is next for the former Crimson Tide catcher, maybe drafted in this upcoming MLB draft in July. Who knows? Maybe coming back to Alabama if that's what he chooses to do. But he's certainly had a great career, one of the most memorable catchers in Crimson Tide baseball history. Today's episode of the Crimson Drive, presented by Coca-Cola, is going to wrap up with a conversation with Alabama track and field coach Dan Waters. On the past few episodes, we've been giving you a few updates during our headline segments about how Alabama is performing both at the SEC and the NCAA level. Now it's time to hear all about it from the head man for the Crimson Tide, Dan Waters. Joined now by the head coach for Alabama track and field, Dan Waters, who joins us from his office on campus. And Dan, is it great to be back in Tuscaloosa after some time out west?
Yeah, I heard you guys got a ton of rain when we were out there. So we were enjoying some nice cool weather out in Eugene, and you guys, I guess, got tons of rain, so it's good. It's good to be back.
Well, it was quite a finish for Alabama track and field. Can you just kind of take us through the season that was for your student athletes?
Obviously we were happy with the way we finished indoors and in a weird cross country season that ended in March, which is unlike anything we've ever had before. So we were very careful with how we planned for the outdoor season, knowing that we obviously returned some very special seniors, because COVID seniors were returning to the team. And so we planned our season out, kind of trying to make sure we were ready to go at the SEC championships, regional championships, and national championships. And boy, we went really hard at it at SECs and tried to win both sides and got close. I thought we were going to win the championships on both sides heading into the last two events of the day on that Saturday. And, it was kind of a little bit heartbreaking, but the way the team competed at SECs, I was like, wow, if we continue to carry this kind of focus and energy and momentum into the last two meets of the season, we'll be, really happy with how it unfolds. And so we went to regionals, and regionals almost went perfect. That's a kind of one of the hurdles we have to clear. It's kind of one of those tripping up meets where you could, have great athletes that, miss an opportunity to go to the final round of nationals. And so that went great. And I was really excited and happy with the focus and momentum that we had going into the last meet of the season in Eugene. And it was a tough meet. We obviously just kept competing and struggling, and we had some adversity. We were able to overcome it, and then the women were able to bring home a trophy for fourth place, and the men were 13th. And missed a few opportunities to be, probably fifth or sixth had it gone a little bit better. But overall, just talking about the assistants and the team and the way the athletes competed all year long, you couldn't be happier. The focus they had, and I don't know whether they just were on a mission, or if, because of coronavirus, they know how to focus better. I don't know, but they were better than they've ever been through the championship portion, which was really exciting, and a credit to them and our assistant coaches.
Certainly is. And let's take a step back for a moment. Last year, you didn't get to have any championships when the COVID-19 pandemic shut down sports. What were some of the next steps for your program, and specifically some of your student athletes from foreign countries that maybe didn't have a chance to go home?
Yeah, there's a challenge summer for every track and field athlete, because, there was just so many unknowns. Obviously, that was an Olympic year. People had, made big plans and set up training to have a very special year in 2020. So kind of putting a pause on all that and trying to refocus, re-up, kind of get ready to go for right now. We're in the Olympic trials as I start today, and out in Eugene. And it was just a super challenge, and trying to readjust training, coming off of a long break, because we didn't get to see the athletes for a while. And then how do you, what shape are they in? How do you, organize and plan your training from where they are? So it was all on just, experience and coaching and trial and error and that kind of stuff. So you got to say, credit to the student athletes, credit to the coaches for being able to figuring out a way to continue to get better and better, which was fun to watch.
They certainly did. And we'll talk about some individual athletes for you here, starting with Mercy Shilanga. What a year she put together, from cross country, track and field, indoor, outdoor. She put together a tremendous year for Alabama.
Oh, it was amazing, where she contributed every time she turned, she got on the track, she turned in a great performance, win a national championship in cross country, and then obviously second in the 10K outdoors, and I think fifth in the 5K outdoors, which gave us the points to give us the trophy. That is, it's really hard to explain how hard that is. And to be able to be at that level for that long, to be, at your very best in March, and then have to turn around and run through the whole competitive season, through all the qualifying meets, hit all the marks throughout the season, and then be at your very best again in mid-June is remarkable. It's, that's one of the toughest things I've ever seen happen in a distance runner's career, is to be able to win a national championships in cross country in March, which is never done. And then, come back, 3 or 4 months later and be, the elite distance runner in the NCAA. So what an amazing year for her and for Coach Palmer and his wife, the other Coach Palmer. And, what she was able to accomplish was pretty amazing.
What can you tell us about the year Tamara Clark put together?
Gosh, it's still going. She's still out there in Eugene, trying to make the Olympic team in the 100 and the 200. She broke some pretty amazing school records. To run 22:13 for the 200 is flat out flying. She broke 21 seconds at the conference championship. It was obviously a little bit windy, but that's kind of where we start recruiting on the men's side. So this tells you how fast she is, and she's been really, really good and very consistent. Kind of the heart and soul of the women's sprint program. She's the engine that makes it all go. And to be double SEC champion in the 100 and 200, which is a hard thing to do, and then have the fastest times coming out of the region into the national meet, and then doing what she did there for second in the 200 and third in the 100. Valuable points, but we're hoping for she'll continue to keep going, and I think she's got a little more gas in the tank. Short story, I went out to the track. Sorry, my phone keeps dinging. Let me turn it off. Went out to the track one day, and I was watching sprint practice. Coach Wiley and Coach Jett were working her out, and I saw something I've never seen before in her. Like the way that she was moving down the track and how she was covering ground and the energy and force she was putting into it. I was like, we're going to have a very special year. So saw it coming. I told her I saw it coming, and after the SEC championships, I go, I told you. She goes, yeah, you did. It was so. She's entering that elite level of power and speed and quickness, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch her development over the years.
Fun to watch on the men's side as well. Robert Dunning winning national title 110-meter hurdles. Just a tremendous performance he had in Eugene.
Yeah, obviously the people that watched it. So, the story that goes behind that is that, we get into warm-ups and he gets a serious bloody nose. He literally, he's in the medical tent for the last 25, 30 minutes before warm-up, which were the crucial parts of the warm-up. You have to go over hurdles. You have to come out of block starts. You have to excite the central nervous system. And it's not happening for him. I mean, like he's just, in the medical tent sitting on a table trying to stop a bloody nose. And they call him out to the track and he's still bleeding. He's still, bleeding in the blocks and it's dripping down on the track, and gun goes, and we're like, well, let's see what happens. And it's just because he's a great competitor. He goes out there and advances to the finals. I mean, runs 13:60, which is probably his slowest time of the year. It might've been his slowest time since March, so since his opening race, and advances to the finals. And I think everybody kind of watched him, kind of gave up on him. I mean, like if you listen to the call, on ESPN, there was no mention of Robert Dunning until he crossed the line and won the race, and he destroyed everybody. Like is anybody watching what I'm seeing? Because he's killing everybody. So, but and his race, was into a negative win at 13:24, which converts down to one of the fastest times all time in the 110 hurdles. If you believe conversions. So, he's obviously out in Eugene. He's actually back home. He's going back out to Eugene here in a couple of days to try to make the Olympic team, which is, I think he's got a great shot. But, his is a great story, and he's been a great competitor for us. He was obviously one of our COVID-19 seniors that came back, graduated, done a very, very special job for us, and couldn't be happier and prouder for him.
Yeah, if you could just kind of tell us everybody from Alabama that's competing for a spot on the Olympic teams coming up and who we could see down the road in Tokyo.
Oh man, that's a long list. I'm going to forget everybody. So we've got graduated seniors people that left the program like Cord Ferguson and Danny Hall, Haley Teal are trying to make the team. We have obviously we've had our international athletes like Karani James. We have Jareem Richards, who's trying to make the team for Trinidad, probably already made the team. We have Portius Warren. She was a great thrower for us. And then our current roster, Christian Evers, Keyshawn McGee, Tamara Clark, Nicolette Dunbar, Robert Dunning. I'm forgetting 5 or 6 others. So yeah, it's crazy. It's long story, but we went to the national championships and then the Olympic trials the next week. And so some are staying out there. Amaris Timisma is out there, still currently training and ready to run the 1500. So we're all over the place. We got coaches in every county across the United States, just trying to get the team to Eugene and to compete for the Olympic trials and whatnot. So we're going in a million different ways, but I think those, I hit a lot of the big ones. I'm trying to think if I remembered, if I forgot a few, but that's kind of what we're looking at. I wish I had a list. I should have. Sorry.
Good rundown. No, definitely. So a solid year for your track and field program, cross country. How can a year like this help propel you into the upcoming year that's coming up?
It's funny, we killed it in recruiting. Couldn't be happier where we are. COVID was good for us in recruiting. I don't know how that happened, but we really, really moved our program forward with what we're able to sign for this upcoming year. And we really don't lose a lot on the men's side or the women's side. We lose obviously Vincent Kipperott, Robert Dunning, and a decathlete off the SEC team, which is a lot, but what we replaced it with, we're really excited for. We brought in, I think, 13 athletes, that can make a contribution immediately. And then on the women's side, we do use a lot of COVID seniors, Natasha McDonald and Takira Roberson and Katie Funchen and DJ Baker and some others I'm forgetting, Leah Hanel and some of those other athletes. But we do bring back a great core and a great nucleus of athletes that are coming with obviously Mercy and Tamara Clark and what we signed coming in and who's returning, and our throws group is stronger than ever. So we think we're going to propel ourselves into even better things next year. I'm super excited about it. Kind of want to hit fast forward and get to the fall again. Summers are super crazy for us, but I'm ready to get back started and get going again.
Yeah, I think we all feel the same way. And I'll kind of wrap up with this. This has been such a great year for Alabama athletics, starting with football national championship and then SEC championships, individual honors for some of your student athletes, and 10 years for you at Alabama. Has this been one of the most fun years you've ever had here in Tuscaloosa?
So I just had my 10-year anniversary on Tuesday. It's been amazing. I've been following everything, like I've been, counting points for the Learfield Cup too, and so it's been fun watching softball, obviously football, women's basketball, men's basketball, you name it. Tennis has had a great years, just across the board. Gymnastics, and it needs to be said too. I don't know if people out there really know this, but all the head coaches, speak. We support each other. Like I get messages from every single head coach on our staff, just congratulating the team and what we're able to accomplish this year. And we do the same. So it's a really, really fun place to work that way. And they're really supportive. And it's, obviously the results have been there this year. And I think it's only going to get better in the future.
Well, Coach, congratulations on a very successful season for you. Congratulations on your 10-year anniversary here at the Capstone as well. Just thank you for joining us this afternoon on Crimson Drive, and Roll Tide to you.
Yeah, Roll Tide. Thanks, Roger.
Big thanks to Coach Waters, and remember to head to RollTide.com. We'll have the latest information on all the Alabama athletes that will be competing in this year's Summer Games in Tokyo. The Olympics are coming up. A lot of Crimson Tide alums will be there and on hand to represent the University of Alabama. Certainly would like to thank all of you for watching today's edition of Crimson Drive, presented to you by Coca-Cola. Special thanks to our guest, Bill Battle, along with Sam Praytor and Dan Waters. Really great conversations. If you missed it, of course, this show will be archived here on our Facebook page as well as on YouTube. And also, if you'd ever like to hear any of these interviews in kind of podcast form, go to the Alabama Insider Podcast, and all podcast platforms, and all of those interviews are available on demand there as well. Big thanks as well to our Facebook Live producer, Ethan Carabin, for putting the show together. For everybody with the University of Alabama and the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying thank you for listening to and watching Crimson Drive on this Thursday afternoon. We'll be back with another edition coming up next Thursday at 2 p.m. Central. That's Crimson Drive, presented to you by Coca-Cola. Roll Tide, everyone.